Yep.
Welcome to the Struggle Bubble. I'm Chad Cutting.
And I'm Craig Sergi.
He sure
and
is.
We are back.
How long has it been, Craig? Because we did this with Ricky a year ago and said we were back, and then we weren't back.
Was it a year?
I think so.
Shit, that's a long time.
So if anybody's still paying attention to us.
Well, so people have been asking me when we're back for season 2. So we'll officially kick off season 2 today. Feb 27th.
I think this is our second kickoff of season 2.
No, don't count the first one because we didn't
just
do
delete it. But Ricky's episode was so good.
No, we'll keep it. We'll just say that was a 1.5.
A lot. Version 1.5. You're right. We have gotten a little bit of feedback. In fact, this week, are you still doing your podcast? Which was from a friend that I'd worked with, way back in the day, about 15 years ago. And he says, "Oh, we started our podcast, stopped as well. It's a lot of hard work." And everything that we read is, once you get to that 20th episode, if you keep going, you're like in the top 15%. And then it hit us right in the face. Life got in the way and we haven't been on. But it's good to talk to you again, Craig, because I feel like I have not seen you in person in months.
I think that's about right as well. I think I don't even know the last time I physically saw you. No, just school drop-offs.
Well, and you're not coaching Los Gatos United anymore. So I haven't seen you on the pitch. I've been saying pitch so much. I feel like you've done this for me, bud. I appreciate it.
I've influenced. Yeah, no, a lot happened in the fall going into winter. And then I decided to take a brief pause maybe not a brief pause, but a pause in coaching at LGU, but still doing the high school. As you know, big game tonight, 5 p.m. at Santa Clara for
we'll be there.
CCS Championship.
We were just looking at tickets on GoFan to reserve our seats.
There you go. Let's go.
Tonight against St. Francis, right?
Tonight against St. Francis, yeah.
So tell us, what should we expect?
Do you want me to go technical? Where do you want me to go with this? High level? We'll go high level and we'll dive in.
I'm the most technical soccer person out there. So go super technical to start, and then I'll ask a lot of questions.
I'll go with some American stats, because everyone loves a stat in America.
Do it all in an American accent.
115 goals scored, and I believe we've conceded. I don't know conceded off the top of my head, but
115 scored.
115 scored. Conceded. I don't think it's double digits, or it must just be double digits. It must be 8, 9, 10, something around there. So that's obviously good. Top goal scorer Abby, I believe she scored 40 now. She's scored more goals on her own than the whole of the MIDI soccer team for that season. And she's great, right? Abby's going to Cal Berkeley. She's a freshman, junior. She's a sophomore. No, she's a junior, right now. So we have all for one more year. And then we have second in the league for assists with Tegan, who's going to Santa Clara. She's also a junior. So between the two, obviously a lot of goals. And then we also have coming up in third place is Ali, who's scored something like 12 and set up 16 or something incredible. And so very, very good, obviously. And then St. Francis, also a very, very good team. I don't know their full stats, but they have, I believe, a US national keeper or on the pool keeper. So good. And then a lot of ECNL level players that play in circling clubs here. So it should be a good game. I mean, from the video that I've watched, have 6 or 7 very solid players. I would say we have 9 to 10 solid players at D1 or around D1 level soccer players. So it should be a good final. I'm looking forward to it. The goal was at the start of the season to get CCS finals. Yeah, we've achieved that. So it should be a solid game. We set a good game plan up yesterday. I think we've seen our style of play. I think we're going to do the right things at the right time. And my prediction, we'll see how close I am. I think it's probably going to be a 3-1 win for us, but we'll see.
Well, we are going to publish this after the game, so if you're wrong, we'll just edit it out. Do you want to take another guess, and then we'll just see how many you can do, and then we'll edit in the exact right?
Keep going. Yeah, exactly.
And go.
I know even. Oh my God. No, so it's Yeah, it's exciting. And if we win, well, we've already qualified for Northern California now as well. So we have another game on Tuesday for the quarterfinals for NorCal. So this season that I started at the end of November, thinking we'll be done by the end of February, is going to be more like middle of March. But here we
It's
are.
always fun to play bonus soccer. When we were talking, last year, I think with Ricky, we've talked about every age level from our little ones, 10 years old, competitive soccer, pre-ECNL, ECNL, all the alphabet soup, and then going into high school. I'm curious, when you have players like that are already going to play at that next level, how do they approach a high school season? Is it at the same level that they're used to in the comp season, or is it a little bit different? How do their attitudes or level of play differ?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll go back to, I think it's a lot around the coaching. We have Lisa and I know the kids are good. There's nothing technically we can really teach them at that level, right? And at that, they're 16, 17, so they're kind of out of that bracket of technical skill set. So it's more tactical to win the game. So it depends on how you set the squad up. Ours is very much, what you're doing. We're going to put the pieces in place, but the biggest thing is you must stay healthy. That's all we're looking for. Stay healthy. So not intense training sessions, not crazy sprints around the field, 20, all of that crazy stuff all goes to the side. So mentally they're preparing themselves that when we're on the field, we're going to play at the level that we're used to, and we're going to enforce the rest of the teammates to do the same and play at that level and bring the level up if needs be. At the same time, when you're off field, it's a lot more relaxed, calm. You're there for fun. You're there playing with teammates that you don't play in club, but you may have played with when you're 8 years old. So it's kind of a cool community. Everyone's back in the same field again. So yeah, it's a little different, but it's also great because you start seeing players that think they can play D1 or have aspirations too, and start really stepping their game up to play with those caliber of players. So yeah, it's just preparation of the squad really, and say our biggest thing was do not overtrain, rest when needed, stay healthy, and we'll go a long way.
Do you see any difference in the competition when they know they're going against somebody that is going to be on scholarship
100%.
at a D1 program where they want to prove themselves, be a little extra physical?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone knows each other's names that are going to the top colleges. They've known each other probably from league play for years. So when they're representing their school, there's definitely a little bit more bite. People are trying to get in on players to show that they can kind of compete. And it's very interesting because, again, I said to Lisa this week, our top players really stepped up in the CCS games. They just knew if I make this, if I intensify the field, everyone's going to run with me. And kind of that's what happened. It's, Leland were a decent team and that was 8-1. And then Midi was 4-0. We just, took the game to people.
And I think, you're right. A lot of this is coaching, just everybody feels comfortable and can play their own game. They're loose. But also a lot, you're talking 16, 17, 18-year-old women on this team that can decide how to approach their own game. And on one token, they can say, hey, I'm going to be a D1 athlete. I'm over here. I'm in this lane. You also have some leadership capabilities that start to come out and say, yes, I'm at this level. What can I do to bring my teammates also to this level? And then we've talked about this time and time again, depending on how you age, how you hit puberty, growth spurts, all of that, you might have been back of the pack for 6 years. And then you turn it on as a sophomore, junior, you've worked hard, you've grinded, and you start to then show all that productivity a little bit later. And we hate to have anybody shy away that, just because you're not on scholarship somewhere. There are girls and on the boys' side, people that have grinded or working hard that are seeing the field because they've stuck with it in their junior and senior years.
Yeah, for sure. We have a player you'll see tonight. I won't mention her name, but I think she's a D1 player for sure. Just didn't get a look a couple of years ago, a few injuries, and now you'll watch her tonight and you'll be like, wow, okay, she's not signed anywhere yet. That's really interesting because I think she's the same level as these other kids. And a lot goes, as you know, is your club an ECNL club or a GA club? Are you playing in the Surf Cup tournaments? Are you going to showcase? All those things that, kind of infiltrate the whole process is part of that package as well.
Yeah. But just figuring out how to keep the love of the game with all of that you can take it as a lot of pressure that you're setting that to be the end goal, which really shouldn't be. You can have that aspirational side of it, but it's really that grind. And we're seeing that across athletics. Whatever sport you're playing early on, it translates. We were just talking with Ricky Lewis over the weekend at a soccer tournament of, it's important for our girls to find something that they're not good at and then try and learn how to get better, how to put that work in. Or even, Theo last night, we're starting new, not true weightlifting, but different strength and speed exercises that he can do. And he's really frustrated that he can't do them the way that is being described or the videos that he's seeing. But then I start seeing corner of my eye, he's trying to do it on his own. It's like, all right, let me try it. Let me fix it. And that's really like the progression that you want to see, throughout, regardless of the level.
Every time. It's just like golf, right? It's like, yeah, we can all
I'm terrible
swing
at
it.
golf, but I keep playing.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like, you know how to do it. You got the psychologically, you've watched and video, whatever, right? And it's just like, all right, repetition's the only way. And there's this huge podcast about kind of YouTube Shorts and TikTok and stuff. Brain Rot, it was called. There's 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever it is, start to finish ratio, and then you go to the next one. So you feel like there's a success period from that start to finish in 20 seconds. And as we all know in the sports world, that's not realistic, right? It's years and years of grind and repetition and, all these different variations to get you where you want to go. And I think it's vital, absolutely key for kids to work every single day for wherever they want to get to. And you may never make it, right? But you just put that grind effort in to get where you want to go. So to your point, with the high school kids, there's say a couple that I think could go further. There's some that have already got their scholarship signed. But 8, 9 years old, it was the love of the game that kept them in the game till they were 16, right? And the grind to go every single week to training. And you don't train that hard and work that hard unless you actually love what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? And then it develops to the college or wherever you're going to go next.
And just figuring out how to get there, that's the trickiest part, because you want them to succeed. You hate to see them struggle, but that's just all part of it. So as parents, how do we expose them to as much as possible? Free sport, help them stick with it. Quitting really isn't an option. See the whole season through and build that up, and just being there for the right reason, because that'll serve them for the rest of their lives.
100%. We had a pass to feed last night. Somebody was a professional basketball player, was getting out of the game and, played a couple of years, not in the NBA, but other places across the world. And somebody's like, you're going to tech sales. Like, you're a sports person, you know how to grind, you know how to work hard, you know how to be part of a team. So my point being, it goes into further in life, these core, skill sets that you're building now as a kid, or for the high school team, young adults. But the pressure's on. We took out mid-air, now we're going to take out St. Francis. So
well, it'll be a lot of fun to be out there and see everybody start to compete, especially at that CCS level, right? You're at a new venue over at Santa Clara.
Yeah,
it'll be fun to see the girls on the pitch over there.
Biggest field you've ever. I was told the girls last night, I'm like, it's grass and it's big, so you're going to be exhausted tissue runs. But yeah, so here we are, and you're not doing baseball chairmanship, presidentship.
Not doing the president stuff this year, so stepped away after 5 years, which was fantastic, and they're right in the thick of planning, and first games start tomorrow morning. So it's been a lighter load, although not truly, because we're still running game plan. The lights went out in Los Gatos for anyone listening and not viewing the video. Craig's halo lamp has had enough of looking at his face for today. So he's now in the witness protection, which really brings out your 5 o'clock shadow.
That's it's a gray in. It's a gray in.
But yeah, so not doing that, but also I was just having a conversation with Lauren yesterday of all of the AI stuff that's going on. So you want to talk about, not doing that, but filling time. What I've been filling my time with is figuring out what our kids are going to do for jobs in 10 years when they're out of college.
Ooh,
because the amount of firepower that is happening on the AI side, and you and I see it on a day-to-day through what we're building with Game Plan and any of the consulting work that we're doing in tech. There's so many, it changes by the day, it changes by the hour. And I was just thinking, right, I have all of these tools set up to help me be more productive, and all of these I 10 years ago, I'd have said, go be a developer, learn computer science. Now it's how can you understand and harness all of these tools that are out there and not completely brain rot on the couch and say somebody else will do it for me.
Yeah, funny you say that. Two comments there. Interesting Elon Musk's comment about the what's the universal income. That was an interesting, like, AI is going to do all the jobs, so we'll just build a universal income. And then saw something today. Gemini now can track your DoorDash order, and when it gets close to lunchtime, basically push you to the app and say, "Do you want to order? Yes or no?" That's
Yeah.
scary.
Well, so much is automated, and we've been used to some tools that have done this a little bit. Like, hey, at this time, you usually go to this place. Like, wow, that's scary. Please don't track me anymore. I want to figure out the pattern of what we're going to do for our careers and how we best harness that for good, but also the kids of you expose them to that and help them understand the world we're living in, and also what that can mean for the businesses that are being created. Because on one side, more and more businesses are being created. You can have a team of one that is using AI to do development and marketing and website building and all that. And then you can also have these large corporations that are trying to figure out how to push that forward. But there's a ton of layoffs. You and I have talked over the last couple of days of the amount of companies that are laying off in the thousands. Right, the post-COVID hiring spree is definitely in full reverse, and companies are seeing that they can do so much of that work through AI, or at least at somewhere near the same level. So it's going to take a workforce of independent thinkers to figure out how to actually harness this.
Well, and like you and I, are looking at game plan, it's how does AI wrap into the sports world, right? You've got your consulting, you've got your, just everything from player tracking and all that data to day-to-day grind, right? What can be sped up for an organization that AI could take ownership of? Payment systems, ticketing systems. And we've chatted largely around, coaching, one-on-one coaching. Like, if we've got all this data from the kids from their 5, 6, 7, 8 years old now, that we're just basically colliding or collecting and colliding with a AI platform, yeah, it's scary. I don't know. It's kind of one of those good thing, bad thing scenarios, right? Where if we have all of this, is it useful? Yes or no? Or are we getting to that crazy time where I was actually just having a conversation with the guys I bike ride with about Whoop? Because psychologically, I didn't have a good night's sleep. My Whoop band's telling me, I need 7, whatever the numbers turn out today. So do you not ride that day? But even though you feel like you want to, you're saying that you're depleted on whatever. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe we're a little bit old school of like, well, whatever, it sucks, deal with it. It's kind of what we are just talking about with the kids and, grind mentality. Or do you take the data and say, okay, how do I speed this up? How do I recover quicker, whatever, and skip that day of training? Like, I think for me anyway, there's a fine balance between using all that data and then, look, if I feel fine, I'm going to go train or I'm going to, whatever.
Well, and that's the bigger picture of if we're using the technology to augment ourselves and to be better and to make better decisions, that's great. And I think you're exactly right, is figuring out how to exactly harness that for good, because it is inevitable, right? You have conversations happening right now that say, right, just wait until you see what we can do next, right? You're not prepared for the next wave because the iteration is going to happen so fast and the jumps accelerated. So we need to embrace that it's coming. I don't think we can put our heads in the sand and say, no, I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to, and we've had this, I'm not going to listen to the radio. I'm not going to watch TV. I'm not going to get on the
Yeah.
internet. I'm not going to use
Yeah.
AI. I don't think that's reasonable, but how do we as business leaders use it responsibly and provide tooling? And then how do we as parents help prepare our kids for what they can do to use it? I don't know if you've had the homework conversation yet of, before is why can't I use a calculator? Now it's why can't I just ask ChatGPT?
Dude, I had this whole conversation about education this week. This is probably a great time to long story short of some kids wake up early and want to get straight after it. I'm an early bird, right? I do all my kind of core emails between 7 and 10 a.m. There's other
I
people.
get an alert for you walking the dog every morning around 6 a.m.
Share with your friends. And then you have the artistic, and I'm talking about my kids and, the artistic side of it. They don't want to get out of bed early morning. They're night people, right? They're more creative in the evenings. And so, their education point is difficult as well because they're not concentrating in the morning, but they're more in the afternoons. Then is the education kind of broken now? Like, same with you and Jay and me and Chloe. It's like Chloe's using AI for schoolwork. And to your point about the calculator, I don't even know what to tell you on this one. I got this calculator when we were kids. You need to know a portion of what's going on before you start just throwing it in a calculator and getting an answer. Same time with our kids at this age, I'm like, there's stuff in ChatGPT that'll answer. I think the skill set is it will give you an answer correct. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, right? That's the biggest thing I'm trying to tell Chloe is like, yeah, it can give you guidance, it can help. The scary thing is, I think we chatted about this week, is it knows it's tracking me since day one and me putting whatever I wrote into ChatGPT. And I think I brought this up to you as well. I read something last week that a court, or I don't know if it was in California or a different state, basically said, hey, I appreciate what's been written here and what you're saying in this document. That's ChatGPT, and ChatGPT never passed the bar. So that document isn't valid. So,
Well, I mean, you hit on it. Is the biggest skill right now is determining what to believe. And we've had this problem for a long time. You and I, growing up, we're citing Wikipedia because it was quick and easy. And we're just like, well, it wouldn't be on here if it wasn't the truth. We've gone through, Facebook and Instagram and a whole bunch. I'll say we went yesterday and Theo got a haircut. And when he gets a haircut, the barber puts on YouTube. And there was a set of videos that came on of boating fails, like people trying to tow their boat in or out of the water. And the first couple, right, standard, America's Funniest Home Video style, they don't detach it so the truck gets pulled in, or they put it in the wrong gear and they go off the side. But then all of a sudden we start to see some really just weird falls, and come to find out the entire 10-minute video was AI generated. So that uncomfortable feeling of those humans aren't acting, it's weird. It's like they're in slow motion, but also don't have the right body movements when they're reacting to the boat fail. It was 100% AI. So we had a conversation in the car with Theo, like, hey, so right, that video it's not real. Somebody made it on a computer. He's like, but it looks so real, right? Those are real people, right? So that awareness that you hit on of just understanding that is out there and is possible, and these deep fakes that can be made, and all the stuff that can be bad about it, we have to have a natural curiosity for the technology, but also continue to push it in the right direction and not just abstain because we're uncomfortable of what's happening.
yeah, no, totally. And I think it crosses over to sport, right? I think we're tracking everything. I mean, we used to track everything when we were kids, but not to that extreme. But now it's, a pinprick of blood from your ear to see your CO2 levels and, all that kind of stuff. We've always kind of had the science behind it, but now I think it's now to the grassroots, right? So we've got to be really, really careful on how much we push that onto kids. And again, I always go back to it, the love of the game, right? If there's too much science behind it, there's too much structure, we completely lose that creativity side of the games. And that's the one that kind of kills me a little bit. We're going to turn into, just talking about soccer in general, we're going to turn into a chess game, right? And that's where you get the messes and people like that, where they're like, oh my God, these guys are incredible. Yeah, they are absolutely incredible, but they learned it all on the street, right? They didn't learn that in a heavily structured environment. So I think there's a place for all of it. It's just to your point, where is it, right? And you and I have chatted about this. Maybe it's in the backroom staff. Maybe it's the organization. Make everything a little bit more set up, and ground staff use it more than a player. But we'll see. I'm optimistic. I'm definitely optimistic how this is all going to pan out in the sports world.
I think there's a pattern where if you are able to use it as inspiration, right, to overcome writer's block or what should I do next, or a barrier of education. There's so many great players out there of like, well, teach me the basics, teach me how to do this, give me a head start, where a Google search, a Reddit search, like whatever that we were doing historically, that you can cobble together some education. I think similarly for parents trying to, I know nothing about soccer, but I'm fortunate enough to know you. We had talks early on when they're 6, 7, 8 years old. But can we bring more skills and training and ideas and thought processes and how to coach and how to parent and how to talk, how to get that mental toughness? I was speaking yesterday with a former boss when I was back in college, Joe Carlgard. They have a startup that's running all about that mental preparation. How do you go into a game, into practice throughout your career and really understand who you are, how you get motivated? And we've had Myers-Briggs type tests at work and big tech of how do you like to communicate? How do you like to be communicated to? I think it's really interesting to use these technology tools to learn more about ourselves and
Yeah.
how we represent ourselves. And those are the exciting things of how to use technology for the better. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about with game plan of really being able to provide parents, kids, coaches, administrators, everybody the access to that education and the structure so they can focus exactly what you said on what is fun. It's fun to be out on the field. It's fun to have the sun on your face, the grass, on your feet, to actually play the thing,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and let that
Really
planning speak for itself.
that'd be really interesting to dive a little deeper into that as they get growing because I see it all the time. That, as you know, the burnout is real. I see it all the time. The stress these players put on themselves all the time at a young age. And again, I feel our success at the high school is it's okay. We tied against Palo Alto 2-2, a team that I think we beat 6-0 the next time. Mate, this doesn't determine the season. You had one bad game. It's okay. We didn't lose. We got a tie. We got out of there. It's fine. Everyone was off a little bit. We weren't receiving the ball. It's okay. You'll be fine. It doesn't deter. This isn't your final. This isn't. And just you could go the other route of just hammering the kids that they did a bad job and we should have whatever, right? And it's like it'd be interesting to see from a study that or the style that he's working with of what they, if you got them in a room after a second after to 20 minutes after, and who the coach was and how their emotions and psychological side was, would be really interesting to
Yeah.
to pick up on.
It reminded me of over the weekend we had a guest coach fill in while a coach was on vacation, and the coaching styles are on two ends of the spectrum, where there's active coaching going on that is, similar to you at a volume level that isn't yelling, but it's letting the kids know actively as the game is going on. And then there's the other side of it of a little bit let the kids play, a little bit more passive, and interesting just to hear our kids come back and talk through it. You just triggered it with the real time feedback of how do I feel as a player when certain things are being said, the way that they're being said, and what's being said. To see the growth in her eyes, whereas a year ago she would have kind of melted into feedback. Now it's, oh, he's trying to make me better. And there's a way to communicate that message. But at the end of the day, I know he's trying to make me better. So it's then okay to receive it. But there's a trust level that needs to be built up. I don't know that a lot of the coaches, especially the coaches that don't have kids, right? You learn to communicate with children. It's a deep child psychology lesson by having the kids. You can know as much about soccer, baseball, football as possible. And you know that the message out of your mouth has the right intentions. It's the right technical description, but it's met with a brick wall of you haven't allowed that conversation to happen yet. So I think enabling and empowering parents and coaches to have the right conversation, open the kids' eyes and ears to feedback, that it's not criticism, it's feedback. And there are plenty of adults that can't take feedback as well. Getting in early to say, yeah, it's not that you're not perfect. That's not what I'm not criticizing you for that. I'm trying to make you a better athlete. And there's work
Wow.
to be done on all sides to communicate.
Yeah, you kind of hit on a few key points there. I'd say number one is trust, right? You got to build that with your players, without a doubt. Some players need to be, arm around their shoulder, just, hey, whatever, right? And others need kind of a stern talking to. The other part to that is it's interesting how you described it in regards to, some parents can't even people can't take feedback from their bosses or whatever. And I get really intrigued with that because I personally, when we do like these evaluations, I think a lot of it comes from the parents. I think if we leave a lot of, and these evaluations are key, right? They're key as in like, hey, you were here and now you're here. We do it in school,
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't matter where we do it,
Yep.
work, etc. But the bigger part for me is how that comes across and how how the parent then receives it and then wants to talk to their kid about it and they've never played the sport before in their life. Right? That's the real interesting thing for me because some people want a very, very in-depth evaluation of where their kid is. And I'm like, they're 8, but whatever age groups, they're 8. They can't absorb it yet. They're not, some kids can, some kids can't. They can't absorb it yet. Leave it alone. Let them keep training, let them keep, whatever. And to your point, where you are now, you have an analytical kid that reads into, I did this bad, whatever. It's taken her a year to get comfortable in that environment, and now she accepts it, and now she's accelerating. But it's taken a year of growth, where another kid could take it at that 7 or 8, right? So a lot of it for me, again, comes back to a little bit of the parents. Like, we need this, easy. Your kid's like this, your kid's like this, or like that. And that's how we've got to receive it, not just hammer them on a piece of paper. And I always go back to this, right? We grade meat A, B, and C. We shouldn't be grading kids A, B, and C. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, those evaluations take on a life of their own too, because I mean, depending on how the organization or coach use them, some, just like we do in the corporate world, see performance reviews as a tedious task that let's just get through it. And some look at it as a true means to improve. And I think the consistent feedback over time is a better way to do that than a mid-season or end of season. Now, the logistics are really hard. You want to be able to coach and not continue to just evaluate. But when anything comes at a surprise, one, it's wasted because you could have been working on that skill set for 3 months. And two, it could come as a shock. Like, this is how you feel about me. I'm not going to respond well to it. And I think having that on the parental side, there's so much of that has happened in baseball or football where the kids have been told that they are the best. They're doing great. You're awesome. You're the best out there, which is what you want to say to your kid as a parent, but it's doing them an incredible disservice. But just going back to how the message is delivered, that we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
And whether that's through some tooling or through, some help, some coaching of the coaches, coaching of the parents, let's have tough conversations to create gritty kids that can handle it and thrive.
Well, as I always say, right, the best thing you can say to a kid after they perform is, I love watching you play, perform, dance, doesn't matter what it is. Just you have a confidence barrier in your parents and and they're going to give you that love, right? And that's all they need. The coach is there to critique. And, with my girls being dancers, right? I read this great article a couple of weeks ago about the skill set of being a dancer or being on stage. They're in front of 200-300 people on their own every weekend in a competition. Know the song, know the rhythm, know the beat, know their steps, timing, and all these different variations. But at the end of the day, it's still an opinionated sport. Somebody's grading you with a piece of paper and they probably only watched the first 15 seconds. Yeah, right. So it's such and it's such a learning curve that you've spent a whole 6 months preparing for this one solo or group, whatever, to go and perform in. I think we have 4 or 5 different conventions this year and competitions. So you've prepared for 6 months to get here. It's over in 90 seconds and it's down to one person's opinion. Like, talk about a life lesson. Like, it just smacks you in the face.
Well, we've said this before. I don't know how any of these competitors do this in that subjective space. It just feels so. I mean, even watching the Olympics, I have nothing about figure skating, right? They all look pretty identical, but there's these little technicalities that everyone's looking for. I wouldn't want to be a judge in any of these.
The homie that fell over, that was a kind of gimmick.
That was easy. That's an easy deduction. But those, especially in dance, like, didn't point her toe, didn't, complete this, didn't, smile enough or some other BS that's going on there. I don't know how they do it. But you're right. I mean, there's, win, lose, or draw. I don't think you're going to remember where you finished in any of these different leagues or seasons, but you are going to remember how you felt. And for us, as we led baseball or even with football at the high school, the number one indicator if you succeeded as a coach is the amount of kids that are coming back because they love the game,
100%.
they love the program, they love the way they feel to be a part of that. And that's just more of what we need. And it's so great to see the amount of conversations that are happening, whether it's podcasts or different videos that are being posted. The conversation that is happening right now, at least in the US, is great from a youth sports perspective. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I think having a broader community and conversation is just doing our kids a good amount of service that wasn't necessarily the case 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, totally agree. If you were terrible when we were kids, you just didn't play that sport anymore.
Well, you quit, you gave up. It was tough.
Yeah. Yep. There's a thickness that needs to be built and just grind through it, right? You can be good. As I always say, nobody won the World Cup at 8.
There was a few photos that I was seeing floating across social media where I think it was in Milwaukee for close to the Brewers Stadium. They had put up, right, these are kids, these are volunteers, everybody's trying their hardest. By the way, your kid is not being evaluated by the Milwaukee Brewers today, right? There is no scout that is out there watching an 8-year-old play coach pitch baseball. Let's all take it down a notch and realize why we're here. And it's funny / sad. Every year it goes through the same thing. Like once you make a jump in division or team, like, oh, this is real baseball. Oh, this is real football. And the volume increases. We're going to see it over the weekend. Flag football is going into the playoffs. All of a sudden, parents are screaming at, a 16-year-old referee or their kid to throw the ball. Why are you making that? It's just, if you're going to a sporting event this weekend, go have fun, socialize, enjoy the sunshine. It is not the end of the world if you don't win or your kid doesn't catch a pass or compete the way that you thought
100%.
they wanted.
100%. There's 100%. Even our game today, or it's all season, right? The referees are doing their best. It doesn't go your way, let it go. Move on.
Yeah.
Next
and the
one.
reason you don't have the highest caliber referee is because for the last 20 years, we have screamed and made their lives miserable, which has caused a shortage across the country of people that want to officiate and deal with it.
Every officiant, every sport that has officials is down because of that. 100%.
Go thank an official this weekend.
There you go.
Appreciate their time for coming out.
That's a good one to end on. Go thank the officials.
All right. Well, it's a good way to wrap it up. I think we covered a good amount. We'll try and make this more regular and consistent because I think there is a broader conversation across parenting, youth sports, and everything that our kids and families are going through right now. We'll try and get more guests lined up. In the meantime, catch us anywhere that you find your podcast and follow us on social media, The Struggle Bubble Pod. Any last words, Craig?
It. Just let's go Wildcats.
Good luck tonight. We'll edit out anything that you were wrong on with your 3-1 prediction.
Let's see. All right.
I'll see you next week.